Now for the rest of the course, we are going to be looking at the various human systems. And we're going to start with the endocrine system. Now the endocrine system is a little bit more loosely defined than various other systems in the body, whereas in other parts of the body, organs that are part of the same system are very close together. In the endocrine system, it doesn't really work like that. You kind of have different glands in different parts of the body. All the way up from the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland, which is way up here. It's the thyroid gland, all the way down to the pancreas, and various other glands throughout the body. So it's not really so much as, a system, but it is a system, but it's not contiguous. They're not all together. Rather, the endocrine system is just a bunch of different, glands throughout the body. And what these glands do is they cause what are called secretions or hormones that are used to maintain homeostasis throughout the body, to kind of either counteract negative forces or increases positive forces that occur in the body. So the way these things work is that all of these organs, all of these endocrine organs, have to communicate with each other. And they can communicate directly if they're next to each other, for example. They can communicate through neurotransmitters, which sends messages. Later on in lesson 13, we will discuss the brain and the nervous system. But basically, the brain and the various neurons that go all over the body send messages to the various endocrine glands that allow them to create whatever hormones are necessary. The body also sometimes actually sends messages throughout the body by using secretions. The pituitary gland, for example, which is all the way on top, the main organ all the way on top of the endocrine system, the way it operates and the way it sends messages throughout the system is it secretes various hormones, it secretes various secretions, and those actually tell the other endocrine glands what to do. So this is kind of a review of the previous slide. The chemical messages are sent by the endocrine system either through hormones, which are endocrine secretions that go throughout the body in the bloodstream. And then when these secretions that are created by the thyroid or created by the pituitary gland reach whatever other glands there are, like the liver and the pancreas and things like that, they can then produce things in response to whatever messages they get. And endocrine systems also are controlled through neurotransmitters, which are nerves, which are controlled by the brain, goes down through the spinal cord, and spreads out throughout the body. These are some examples of hormones that are in the body. There are a whole bunch of examples, but here are just three more of the more common and more important types of hormones. Hormones really just means any kind of secretion that an endocrine gland spits out or produces. And here are some examples. You have the prostaglandins, which have different roles throughout the body. In fact, there are many different types of these glands, and I have a little chart over here. You don't have to remember these, but I have a little chart over here of some of the functions of different types of prostaglandins, and you can see that there are many different diverse roles that they play. For example, bronchoconstriction is a constriction of the bronchial tubes. The GI tract is the gastrointestinal tract. That's the tract that your food gets digested. A lot of these have to do with digesting food, and various lipolysis inhibition, lipolysis inhibition, which is the breaking down of fats. There are just many different functions that these types of glands make sure run smoothly. You have cortisol, which is a gland that reacts to stress or anxiety. It actually what cortisol does is it increases your glucose metabolism, which means it increases your breaking down of sugar. It increases your energy. That's why sometimes if you're under a great deal of stress, if something is very dangerous, people very often, their mind becomes sharper, their muscles become stronger, and in general, they're able to get themselves out of situations because they hear stories about people lifting cars and, to save themselves or to save their children, and that's because, it doesn't always happen that way, but a release of this kind of hormone, of cortisol, stimulates the body to produce more energy and produce more strength on a temporary level. You don't want to have it too much because it's not good for you in the long run, but a little bit of cortisol certainly helps the body react to stressful situations. You also have growth hormone. You can take, and growth hormone acts on nearly all the body cells by by causing the body to grow in areas that it needs to grow. All of these types of hormones, by the way, you can take it, and they can produce many of these in the lab, so that if you need more of these, you can just take pills. There's something called HGH, called human growth hormone. People sometimes take that as a performance-enhancing drug, like professional athletic leagues very often prohibit the use of HGH because it's considered cheating. It's considered an unfair advantage. People take it in order to become stronger. Sometimes people who are too small, whatever reason they're not developing properly, like children, very often they'll take growth hormones in order to try to make sure that they grow on a pace faster than they otherwise would. Here's an example. Here's just a list of some of the parts of the endocrine system. As we discussed before, you have the pituitary gland way up here, which is on the base of the brain, actually, which kind of controls the whole system. You have the thyroid and the parathyroid gland, which is which is near the throat. You have the adrenal gland, which produces adrenaline, something that gives you energy as well. You have the pancreas, and you have various other hormones, glands that are located throughout the body.